Hope you guys are doing well. It's Grant here, back with another video for you. And today I want to talk about this concept of living life like a game. I've been talking about this a lot lately, right? The game of life, how we need to start playing the game of life more. Is fate real? I'm beginning to think so. But do you know what? Regardless of whatever the truth is, we're going to begin to live like it is. And what's your fate? Perhaps if you're like me, it's to transmutate this insignificant person into someone, right? To become someone that for perhaps a great period of your life you thought you didn't have the capacity to become. You see, I've compared life to games before, oftentimes, right? And I've been using Elden Ring for the longest time for the footage and the backdrop of these games, right? Since I started the channel. And Elden Ring and the Souls games are all about overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds through attrition and becoming a stronger version of yourself. So I found them to be very appropriate, and perhaps I'll get back to them at some point. But life is similar, right? It's about becoming a stronger version of yourself, a version of yourself that if you compared it to the character you started the game with, so to speak, would be completely different. You would squash him like a bug, right? You see, this dichotomy in all your favorite movies, all your favorite games, all your favorite stories, this dichotomy exists. So why do we have such a hang-up when it comes to applying this story to our lives? You see, our lives are like an interactive story. They're like a game, right? We are the main character, and there's side characters, and there's a narrative that's evolving over time, and we're here to do something, right? We're here to play the game, and this is the most immersive game of all time. And you can see this because it has so many people convinced that they can't actually live this life like a game. It's so immersive that so many people find it deadly serious, right? They see some of the side characters in their life, they see some of the side characters die off, they see that there's a bunch of kids somewhere born in the mud, they never had a chance, right? And so they come to the conclusion that this is all so real, and it's all just things happening and particles clashing into each other, and it's all just random, and it's all scary, and it's all for nothing, right? But you see, the most immersive games try their best to convince you that they're not games, right? And we'll take Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, for example. It's maybe not the most graphically impressive, maybe not the most high-end example, but it is a great game that I played last year, and it does have a very immersive world. And to create this immersive, interesting world, it's not just Link showing up and everything's great and you get everything you want, and it's just you in a vacuum with all the upgrades and unlockables and all the cheat codes, and everything gets handed to you, right? Same way with the Souls games. It doesn't just give you everything you want whenever you want it, even though some people want that stuff, which is weird. But no. In order to make it interesting, a narrative is crafted, right? You start at a certain point by design with nothing. You start like a scrub. But it's not like, you start at the beginning of time. You start in a lived-in world. And it's kind of similar to how we begin our lives, right? We're born into this lived-in world, and there's history, and there's a massive battle playing out, the raging battle between good and evil, right, that's happening in the background of our lives. And there's all these characters that we're seeing out there, and all these places you could go, all these things you could do in order to achieve the goal of eventually becoming strong enough to succeed in the game, however that looks for you, right? And you see, what's interesting is because you're playing a game, when you play like Zelda, when you play Elden Ring, when you play Death Stranding, you play it like a game. You play it in this fearless manner with the knowledge that you're probably going to succeed if you continue to apply yourself, right? But what if these games were so immersive that you forgot they were games? What if they were just like, imagine 100 years from now or 1,000 years from now, where you put on the VR headset and you play something that is indistinguishable from reality. Perhaps that's what we're doing already, right? What if the games were so immersive you forgot they were games? You might not ever leave the starting area. You might look, towards the boss, and you might just think to yourself, like, man, he's killed a lot of people. I'm probably just safer here in the starting area where I'm comfortable. I'm not, threatened here. I'll just chill and relax here at my parents' house or whatever. Even though it's not really where you want to be, even though you're not getting any respect from people, and you're not getting the respect you want or the attraction from the women you want, you're so convinced. I'm so convinced this is all so real and serious, and I'm so scared that I'm just going to stay here. Because to go out there and fight those enemies and take that risk is scary. And so many of us are living like this, right? We're living scared to go out and play the game of life because we are ruled by fear, right? But like I said, because we know we're playing a game, when we play video games, for example, we take those risks very easily. We venture out and we aren't afraid to fail because we understand that that's the point of the experience that we're having. I guess you could play Legend of Zelda and just stay in the starting area, right? Technically just run around, put 100,000 hours into the starting area, but nobody does that, right? But life is so real and so immersive that it's paralyzed people with fear. And even though it could be the best, most exciting, most realistic, and most rewarding game that they've ever played, people instead have chosen to just let the fear rule them and just stay at the starting area. And this is something I've struggled with a lot too, and it's something that I also think is sort of so beautiful about life, that is like, what if you could just wake up one day and realize that, like, it's not that your life is so terrible, and it's not that the things are so scary, but that whoever or whatever has put you here has instead simply intended to give you the most grand and rewarding challenge, and in turn journey, that it could concoct for you. Think about that. We need to start looking at things this way. I think it's likely true. Ignore, the crazy nonsense going on around you, right? And think of it as it's the backdrop to the game. In Tears of the Kingdom and Zelda, you look around and there's all this stuff going on. There's this floating castle, and it's got the evil all swirling around it. And there's like the good guys, and there's the bad guys. There's the villains. There's the allies. There's the enemies, right? And it all exists just to make it all better in the long run, better in general, right? And we see the same thing in our lives right now. We're likely alive right now in 2024 during the craziest period of time of all time. But it's like, do you ever wonder why is that? I used to wonder when I was younger, like, why am I born right now? Why at this point in time? It's so strange. But as I've gotten older, it just seems to make more sense. It's like, this is what I would choose. If I would choose to go into a game, I would say, put me in that spot. Put me in the middle of the craziest stuff happening. I wonder if Link, like, if the game was advanced enough to where he could have internal thoughts. Imagine the game like that advanced where the character is actually having like internal thoughts. He's that real. He's got his brain completely developed, right? He would probably think to himself, like, why am I Link? Like, why do I have to do all this? Like, why aren't things just perfect? Why is there all this like challenge? Why am I this scrub running around shirtless? Why is everything so treacherous, right? It's because the developers of the game wanted to create something inspiring and compelling. And that's what's going on with all the challenge that you're facing in your life, right? And if there's one thing that I've noticed about the nature of reality, it's like this concept of as above, so below. So we see this trope play out in video games and movies and things like that, but we don't kind of ever pull it back and apply it to our own lives. Whether you zoom in and out, you see this similar pattern in nature. So as we make our way through our lives, the rest of it in 2024, which I really do think is going to be an insane year, There's just no way it's not going to be, without getting into the specific reasons why that is. I think if you're smart enough to figure it out, you'll see that we're headed towards some pretty crazy stuff towards the end of this year. But I really do believe we are right in the middle of all of a battle between good versus evil that we are seeing play out right now. You have this sort of, without getting too much into things, you have a force that would like to squash and censor and control, and you have a force that is rebelling against that. And I can't get too much into that on this channel on YouTube because of just reasons for just the way that YouTube is what we'll say. But if you are intelligent, you're seeing this insane battle between good versus evil playing out right now. And it's almost like a game. And I want you to start to gamify your life. And instead of being mad that you're a scrub or wishing things were different, think about Zelda, man. Think about Link. You have an opportunity here. You would be disappointed if you bought Zelda and there was no challenge, right? Nothing to do. If you bought Elden Ring and you started off like level 100 and you just smashed everything, right? You would think that it was a ripoff. So when you reflect on your life situation, where you are now, and just the bad things that have happened to you, maybe the hard situation you're in, the between a rock and a hard place situation that you're in, and all the work that you're likely going to have to do, this monumental journey ahead of you, if you want to take the spot that you're in now and get yourself to somewhere better, just, all this, these frightening things, these daunting things, like, just realize it's setting a stage. It's setting a stage for you to rise up and be the hero. It's setting the stage for you to really live like a real and interesting life, where at the end of it all, like, you're going to have stories, right? Where you have to dig deep. You got to grow strong. You have to perhaps you have to travel somewhere. You have to meet people. You have to form a network the way that Link did. And you have to get, the upgrades, right? You have to get the armor, and you have to help this person and that person, so to speak. And then in exchange, they help you on your journey. This is all stuff that happens when you just get outside your house. You start living this game of life. It's setting the stage for you to go on this grand journey, right? And it takes work, but that's what it's about. It's not about just staying comfortable in the starting area. So guys, start to gamify your life. Just stop the overthinking and start to think of it in simple terms. Think of it as a game, and how would you play that game if you woke up right now and you go, okay, I'm 20-year-old Johnny Boy, whatever your name is, and I just started the game, and for the whole rest of the game I've been like this lazy guy doing stuff this way, putting off the stuff he really wants to do, but now I'm waking up and I'm like Johnny Boy, and I rented the game, I just put it in my console, and the whole point of this experience from this point forward is to take Johnny Boy and turn him into like Johnny Man, who's like living the life he wants to live. How would you go about doing that if you were playing a game? Stop overthinking things, right? Think about what your goals are. And maybe it's just like it's something simple, like you want to get better with girls. That's a long journey. You got to like get in shape. You got to make money. You got to get your style on point, all this stuff, right? It's difficult, but it's like, well, whatever, maybe you don't care about that at all. Maybe it's something else. Maybe you want to get like really good at making music, or you want to be a director, you want to make some art books or something, whatever it is. Maybe it's something completely different, but it's probably got a lot of work ahead, whatever it is, right? You got to get out there. You got to start doing stuff. You got to start trying on some good clothes, right? If you're trying to upgrade your style, and maybe you got to get in shape. Maybe you try on some clothes and you think they're going to look good, and then maybe like they don't really look that great. Maybe one of the hats you bought is pretty cool. So like you keep that hat, you get rid of the clothes that didn't work out, and you keep the hat, you can wear that, but you learn, right? You learn and you start getting better at like what your style is. You start to kind of understand like what looks good on you, and you're gaining knowledge the whole time because you're trying and failing, right? Trying. Okay, that didn't really work out that great. but now I have a better understanding, and you start to get better. It's like people who are good at this stuff, their knowledge does not come just from nothing. The knowledge comes because they're getting out there day after day, and they're trying things and they're learning. Maybe you need to get some better pictures for yourself for like your online profiles or whatever it is. And so like in that case, you'd probably need to consult like an experienced photographer, and they'll help you out, right? And so you go, you meet that guy, you got to like talk with him, you got to get to know him, you got to actually plan a time, you got to figure out what he's going to charge you, and then maybe you get to know him and you're like, all right, this guy is like an ally. This is like your version of like the guy who would like, he'd smash the rocks open for you and he'd open a new path for you in Zelda or whatever, You see, like Link, he wasn't necessarily the best at everything. He knew how to be the hero. He was kind of like a Mr. International in a way. When I think about Link, like he just did everything for everybody. Like when I was playing Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, this guy just does everything for everybody. But he didn't necessarily know how to do everything. He's not as strong as like a Goron. He can't swim as good as a Zora. He couldn't fly as good as the flying people, the Rito. He couldn't sneak as good as the Gerudo or whatever they do, right? But he just had this like unwavering tenacity. He just had the willingness to like just travel around, brave the adventure, and like go meet these people who have the expertise. And when he gets there, oftentimes it's like, okay, dang, these people need some help before they can help me. And you probably run into that. Your photographer is probably gonna he's gonna want some money from you or something like that. And that's okay. Like that's to be expected. That's part of the game. That's the part you have to play. You have to like find a way to go make some cash. You got to cut some grass somewhere or something like that, so you can pay this photographer some money to help you get better pictures, and that unlocks new opportunities for you, new girls. That's why it's important to be out there and like doing things and living life on a regular basis, not just stuck away in your room doing nothing, watching the hub or whatever, because you want to be out there. You want to be like getting assets. You want to be getting some money in the bank. So like when the time comes to make these alliances, then you have something to offer, like a baseline. You have like money, or you have some skills or something, right? You see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily going to be easy or handed to you. It's not a kid's game that we're playing here, but you must begin to treat this experience we're having as a grand, if you will, journey, and just be willing to act out the role of the hero, be willing to act out the role of the main character in your story. So figure out your goal, figure out where you really want to be and what you need to do to get there, and just like really meditate on that, guys, and live like you're on a mission to get from point A to point B, a mission to give meaning to this experience, a mission to really see like who you could be if you really try. Because I guarantee a lot of you guys are really just aren't trying, and you've like wrote yourself off because you're paralyzed by fear. But the thing is, you're going to die no matter what, right? Who knows? Maybe we won't die. Maybe we'll become merged with AI in some robot body or something. But what I'm trying to say is, this experience, whatever this is right now, is temporary. This isn't going to last no matter what, right? Something's going to get you eventually, whether you got to become an android one day, or maybe, you die of old age or something, right? It's not you're going to go from this point to point B regardless. So why not just try to make this whole thing like a big sort of fireworks show, sort of fun, right? Of interesting, of facing your fears, of like battling stuff. Like things are gonna be moving along regardless. So just relax and think, like, if this really was a game, if it really was, say the heavens opened up and the simulation lords appeared in, and they just gave us all a reminder, this is a game, and you shouldn't be taking this so seriously. If you truly believed it was, how would you play it? What would you do today? what's going to get you that much closer to the outcome you desire? What's going to get you a few more steps on that journey from point A to point B? And figure that out and proceed. And that's it, guys. If you'd like to support me, just like, subscribe, give me a comment, perhaps share the video with somebody that you think would benefit from hearing it. All of that stuff helps the algorithm. It helps the video get out there to more people, and that's going to help me the most, and hopefully it'll help other people too that need to hear these kind of messages. And also, if you'd like, please follow me on x.com. I'd like to grow my following over there. I think it's going to be a good backdrop. All of these big tech sites can be a little bit fishy sometimes, and I know YouTube does have a history of kind of smashing down on channels like this that just simply sort of like to speak the truth to you guys in this sort of raw manner. So that would help me a lot as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.